Code, starting with Honorable Naisula.
Naisula Lesuda, MP Samburu West.
Junet Mohamed, Suna East.
Nelson Koech, Belgut.
David Kosing, Poko South.
Gikaria David, Nakuru Town East.
Mase Mary, Deso South.
George Gitonga Murugara, Tharaka Nithi.
Owen Baya, Kilifi North.
Robert Mui, MP Kadhiani.
Stephen Mule, MP Matungulu.
Dido Raso, Saku.
Abdi Shurie, Balambala.
Mishimboko Likoni.
Rehab Mukami, Nyeri.
Ndamkale Bamisa Boti.
Honorable, Mr. Davis Chirchir. We'll start in earnest with the job ahead of us. First, you'll be sworn in because you'll testify on oath. Once we do that, you give your original documents to the sergeant to give to the clerk to cross-check with what we have to see if they are corresponding. So you may be upstanding. You have an option to swear on the Bible or the Quran, depending on your faith. Bible?
I, Davis Kimutai Chirchir, do swear that the evidence I shall give before this committee on the matter under its consideration shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
You may take your seats and sign the oath. Yes, Mr. Chirchir, for purpose of these proceedings, many members will be referring to you as nominee because that's what you are. I'll invite you to give us a brief introduction of yourself, your name, educational background, working experience, key competences that make you think and feel suitable for the appointment to cabinet. 5 minutes at the very most.
Thank you again, Chairman, Speaker, and honorable members. Nice to be here, and my initial gratitude to the President for nominating me to this position of Cabinet Secretary, Roads and Transport. Mr. Chairman, let me fast forward. I graduated in the year 1985 with a degree in physics and computer science from the University of Nairobi, and thereafter went into telecommunication industry, where I joined Kenya Post and Telecommunications and worked as a teletraffic engineer after a 9-month course at the then Central Training School, where I learned the intricacy of managing traffic going into the various routes across the whole world, dimensioning, congestion, and things like that. Subsequently, I did rise in that position to the level of general manager, where I managed the ICT, Information, Communication, and Technology. And in the nascent period of liberalization, I managed the divestiture and liberalization of telecommunication as a change manager, where we did at that time the communication authorities regulations, laws and regulations that spinned off what is now the communication authority, which is the regulator in the telecoms industry, spinned off Postal Corporation and Telecoms Kenya, and issued the various licenses to Safaricom and Celtel at that time. Something that then catapulted the growth of telecommunication in what became competitive and very competitive from the monopolistic management of telecommunication at that time done by Kenya Post and Telecommunications. I later on moved on, honorable members, chairman, as commissioner, where I worked in the interim electoral commission. Soon after the challenge that this country faced during the post-election, I came in as one of the electoral commissioners where I spearheaded various reforms, processes that built confidence that had been totally destroyed in the electoral process, and where Kenyans at that time did not believe in exercising their democratic right through the vote or the ballot. We built system at one time, chairman, honorable members, the Electoral Commission at that time was the most trusted organization in Kenya, ahead of the media and of course ahead of parliament at that time. Honorable members, after the term of reform, which also catapulted the promulgation of the new constitution where we ran the referendum in the year 2010, we were part of crafting Chapter 7 of the constitution, which today really brings out the electoral process, management of the credibility of the vote, to the extent that when the ballots are counted at the polling station and transmitted to the central tallying center, it doesn't matter what you do at the central tallying center because the results would have been announced in each and every of the 22,000 plus polling centers in the country with the technology that pushes them to the cloud today, and everybody participates in the counting. Even when we've had the results we had in 2 years where the difference between the winning party and the losing party was 60,000, we were able to come out of the electoral process with acceptance of those electoral results. In the year 2012, I had a stint of going close to politics when I became the Secretary General of the then party, URP, where we worked with a number of leadership to form government, and I then thereafter was nominated and subsequently appointed to the position of Cabinet Secretary, Energy and Petroleum, a role I did work on for 2 years before a list of shame was placed to Parliament, and I was one of them, and of course several members of Parliament, and we went through the due process, and we got out of it over time, but not before some of our careers were unnecessarily tainted because of the procedure that was adopted at that time. Honorable members, I have walked the journey, and I come here today, rather 2022 again. I was nominated and appointed after the Kenya Kwanza won to this position that I've been nominated to. I was nominated to the position of Cabinet Secretary, Energy and Petroleum, and I did serve in that position until the 11th of July when the entire cabinet was dismissed. Honorable members, I have done some significant work in my career, in my journey, in terms of creating and adding value to this economy, in building systems, and I have legacies which I do pride of today. And today I stand before you, I sit before you as a nominee for CS, roads, and transport. Let me leave it at that for now, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, that will do. We'll now invite members to file questions to you, starting with the Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to question Mr. Davis Chirchir, the nominee, on where he served before, his immediate former position as Minister of Energy, and also to question him on where he's going, which is the Ministry of Transport. So, Mr. Chirchir, you are at the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. You know very well that one of the biggest complaints Kenyans had was that the cost of energy, that is petroleum products and power, was extremely high. I think then we'd be interested in knowing what are some of the interventions that you made during your tenure to try and mitigate this. Then where you're going now to the Ministry of Transport, where two things that are really big that are being spoken about in that particular ministry. One is that is the cost of building our roads. I know that before the finance bill collapsed, the discussions were that to do the entire road network, almost ₦1 trillion is required or more. And then also there's a lot of unpaid bills. That's some of the issues that were brought before Parliament for contractors who have built our roads. So what are the interventions you will take if you're confirmed for this position of Minister of Transport? Are you going to look at joint concession roads and so on? And lastly, on the big elephant in the room, Kenya Airways. Now that you're going to the Ministry of Transport, if confirmed, that will be also an issue you'll deal with. Kenyans would like to know how you intend to deal with Kenya Airways. Are we going to put more money and seeing losses, or is there a way of dealing with it, or should it just be sold? We are interested in knowing what your views are on that. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Nominee, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker Gladys Boshole. Good question on what we've done and achieved as a country to bring down the cost of energy to where it is today. Let me start, Honorable Chair, by saying when I checked last, and then because of the concern when our President was going to the space to talk to the agencies, I did check the challenge of power and what we need to do to be able to address the cost of doing business in this economy. Cost of energy is one of the most insignificant contributor to the cost of doing business. In industry, the cost of energy in production contributes to up to 30 to 40%. And therefore, a country cannot be competitive if the cost of energy is